Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
What's going on, Mets fans? And before we dive into this, I need you to understand something. What I'm about to break down isn't just a theory. It's not speculation. This is a documented pattern of behavior from David Stearns that shows he fundamentally does not understand how to manage relationships with elite players. And Edwin Díaz feeling disrespected by the Mets isn't some media narrative. It's real. It happened, and the evidence is overwhelming. Smash that like button if you're tired of watching this front office treat star players like they're disposable, and stick around because I'm going to walk you through exactly how the Mets made Edwin Díaz feel like he didn't matter and why that cost them one of the best closers in baseball. Let's start from the beginning because context matters here. Edwin Díaz came to the Mets in a massive trade back in 2018. The Mets gave up a haul to get him from Seattle. He signed a big extension. He was supposed to be the closer who would anchor this bullpen for years. And then disaster struck. In 2023, during the World Baseball Classic, Edwin suffered a devastating knee injury celebrating Puerto Rico's victory. His season was done before it even started. And for a lot of players, that kind of injury at that stage of their career, it's a death sentence. But Edwin worked his way back. He rehabbed, he grinded. He came back in 2024 and showed he could still be elite when healthy. He was a major part of that magical playoff run. He closed out big games. He showed up when it mattered. And through all of that adversity, through the injury and the comeback and the pressure, Edwin maintained his professionalism. He never complained. He never demanded special treatment. He just put his head down and did his job. So going into the 2025 offseason, Edwin had every reason to believe he'd earned some respect from the organization. He'd been through hell and back with them. He'd proven his value. He'd shown he was still one of the elite closers in baseball. And while he understood he was going to test free agency, he also thought the Mets would at least treat him with the dignity and respect he deserved after everything he'd been through. But that's not what happened. And the first sign that something was wrong came with the Devin Williams trade. On December 3rd, the Mets acquired Williams from the Brewers, and as I've talked about in previous videos, they did this without communicating with Edwin first. No phone call, no heads up, no explanation. Edwin found out about it through social media like everyone else, and immediately that sent a message. It told Edwin that the organization didn't value him enough to even give him basic professional courtesy. Now, people close to Edwin have confirmed that he felt blindsided by that trade. He felt disrespected. He immediately understood what it meant, which was that the Mets were moving on from him. And that hurt, not because he thought he deserved veto power over roster moves, but because after everything he'd been through with this organization, he at least expected a phone call explaining what was happening. But it gets worse because after the Williams trade, after Edwin had time to process it and realized the Mets were probably done with him, the front office finally reached out. They finally tried to have a conversation about his future. And you know what the message was? We still want you, but we're not going to pay you full market value. We think you should take a discount to stay. We think you should accept less money because of your injury history or because we brought in Williams or because of whatever analytical reasoning David Stearns had cooked up. Think about how insulting that is. You damage the relationship by not communicating about the Williams trade. Then you circle back and ask the player to take less money than he's worth. That's compounding disrespect with more disrespect. That's telling a player not only that you don't value him enough to communicate properly, but also that you don't value him enough to pay him fairly. And Edwin Díaz is a proud person. He's accomplished. He knows what he's worth. So when the Mets came to him with that approach, when they asked him to take a discount after already making him feel undervalued, he was done. He didn't want to negotiate anymore. He didn't want to try to salvage the relationship. He just wanted out. He wanted to go somewhere that would actually treat him with respect and pay him what he deserved. Enter the Los Angeles Dodgers. And you know what they did? They treated Edwin like a professional. They communicated with him from the start. They told him exactly how they saw him fitting into their bullpen. They didn't try to lowball him. They didn't ask him to take a discount. They just offered him fair market value, which was 3 years and $51 million, and made him feel wanted in the process. It wasn't complicated. It wasn't some sophisticated strategy. They just treated him with basic human decency and respect. And when Edwin signed with the Dodgers, he made a point of talking about how they're a winning organization, how they have great communication, how they make their players feel valued. Those weren't random comments. Those were direct shots at the Mets. Edwin was telling everyone exactly why he left. He was saying the Dodgers do all the things the Mets failed to do, and anyone paying attention understood the message. Now, let's talk about why Edwin felt this way, because it's important to understand the full picture. Edwin wasn't asking for special treatment. He wasn't demanding to be overpaid. He just wanted to be treated like a valuable member of the organization who had earned some respect through his performance and his perseverance through injury. That's it. That's all he wanted. Basic professional courtesy and fair compensation. But David Stearns couldn't even give him that, because in Stearns' worldview, players are just assets to be managed. They're numbers on a spreadsheet. Their feelings don't matter. Their history with the organization doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is whether the analytical models say they're worth the investment. And apparently Stearns' model said Edwin Díaz at full market value wasn't worth it. So Stearns made a business decision. He decided the Mets could replace Edwin's production more efficiently. He decided the relationship wasn't important enough to preserve. He decided that saving a few $1 million was more valuable than keeping an elite closer who wanted to be here. And now Edwin is gone, and the Mets are scrambling to figure out their bullpen situation. But here's what David Stearns doesn't understand. When you make players feel disrespected, when you damage relationships unnecessarily, when you treat people like they're disposable, it has consequences beyond just that one player. Every other player in baseball sees how Edwin Díaz was treated. They see that the Mets didn't communicate with him properly. They see that the Mets tried to lowball him in negotiations. They see that even after years of service and fighting through injury, the Mets still didn't value him enough to treat him right. And that affects every future negotiation, because when the Mets try to sign a free agent, that player's agent is going to bring up Edwin Díaz. They're going to say, look at how the Mets treated one of their own guys. Do you really want to sign there? When the Mets try to extend one of their current players, that player is going to wonder if they're next, if they're going to be the next one to get blindsided by a trade or asked to take a discount or treated like they don't matter. This is organizational damage that goes way beyond just losing Edwin Díaz. This is reputation damage that's going to make it harder to build a championship team, because players want to play for organizations that treat them well. They want to play for teams that communicate honestly and pay fairly and show them respect. The Dodgers do that. The Yankees do that. And now everyone knows the Mets under David Stearns don't do that. Multiple people in the industry have confirmed that Edwin felt genuinely hurt by how this played out, not just angry or frustrated, but actually hurt, because he cared about being a Met. He wanted to finish his career in New York. He had built relationships with teammates and coaches. He loved the fans, but the front office made him feel like none of that mattered, like he was just another player who could be replaced whenever the numbers said it made sense. And you know what? Edwin Díaz is going to thrive with the Dodgers. He's going to close out big games for them. He's going to be part of their next championship run. And every time he does, Mets fans are going to be reminded that he wanted to be here and we pushed him away. Not because we couldn't afford him, but because David Stearns couldn't figure out how to treat him with basic respect and dignity. So here's what I want to know from you. After hearing all of this, after understanding how Edwin felt and why he felt that way, do you think the Mets were justified in how they handled this? Or do you think this is another example of David Stearns' complete inability to manage the human side of baseball? Drop your honest thoughts in the comments, because this is a conversation we need to keep having until something changes. Hit that subscribe button for more in-depth coverage of what's really happening with this organization, and I'll see you in the next video where we continue exposing the dysfunction that's costing the Mets opportunities to compete for championships.